Welcome to People, Places, and Things, a travel podcast that brings you captivating stories, fascinating people, and unforgettable destinations from all around the world. I'm your host, Ryan Lowe. Let's dive into this journey together. On today's episode, I would like to welcome Lochie Johnston from Australia. Welcome, Lochie.
Hey, how's it going? Hey, Ryan. Good to be here.
Man, it's good to hear from you, man.
Yeah, good to hear from you too. It's really cool what you're doing. Thanks for inviting me on. I'm really happy to be here.
Absolutely, man. I love having you on because your travels are so crazy and extensive. Uh, First, I wanted to go into your past, talk about growing up in Australia, talk about your upbringing. How was that?
Man, so when you asked me to do this podcast, I had like a lot of time to reflect like on my family and my upbringing, and man, I had the best upbringing ever, like my family was so loving. I've got my mom and my dad, and I've got two younger brothers, 4 years younger than me and 6 years younger than me. And man, just looking back, just got the best parents, like my dad, he coached my football team, my soccer team for since I was 5 years old till I was 14, 15 years old. Like they would do anything for us, and like he would take us fishing. He would like do anything for us. And my mum, she was just so protective and so kind, and like really, really looked out for us. Like did everything for us. But yeah, like actually growing up in Australia, man, it's a good life. Like living near the beach and going to school next to the beach and being able to like go to the beach straight after school. It's a damn pretty chill lifestyle. Really enjoyed it. Um, yeah, and
Yeah, where are you from exactly in Australia?
so I'm from Sydney. I'm from a place called Manly Beach. I don't know if you've ever you get a ferry from Circular Quay from Sydney over to Manly. Man, it's one of the most beautiful spots. But yeah, like just growing up on the beach, like my dad used to take us fishing every weekend. Like I mean, my proudest moment was watching my dad reel in this massive flathead in front of everybody. Just that sort of stuff. Like a lot of nature, a lot of outdoors. Like just behind my big nature reserve that we would go hiking in and bushwalking and swimming. And yeah, growing up in Australia was great. Yeah, it was really, really good. Lots of sports, lots of good, lots of football fields, and anything you wanted to do, you could do. It was a great childhood, great place to grow up.
Yeah, I've never been, but it sounds just like an amazing place to be. Almost all Aussies have this extreme desire to travel. Do you think there's a correlation because it's a massive island, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, Australians are definitely like good travelers because, like I said, yeah, we're an island. We're away from everywhere. Like when I was younger, I was always so obsessed with Europe and places like that because if you wanted to, you could drive a car from Amsterdam all the way down to Thailand. Like if you really wanted to, it's difficult, but if you wanted to, like everything was connected, whereas we weren't connected. So I find like it's super popular to do like a gap year or like yeah, a gap year after high school, after university, or when you finish your someone who's been to trade school, and to go overseas for 3 to 6 months or a year or whatever. And we tend to do it in like bigger, longer intervals because if we go somewhere, we're far away from home. It's not like you can catch a flight a couple of hours and go back home. It's like 2 days on 2 days of travel, to get back home or to get to where you want to go. So I find like people who travel, like they do it well, from Australia. Like they do it really solidly. You know? And you meet a lot of Australians overseas who are living that lifestyle, who are yeah, just have been able to who just been overseas for a long time, just because it's so far away. You know?
Absolutely. And yeah, I've met Australians all over the world. I get along
What
really
do you
well
think?
with Australians.
Yeah, no, so pretty easy bunch to get on with, crack a beer and wear a mate,
Absolutely, man. What was I want to talk about what I want to ask you, what was your first trip outside of Australia?
Like my first travel trip, or like my first trip with like friends, sort of thing.
Just your first trip abroad.
First trip abroad. Okay, so like Bali is so like Indonesia is so close to Australia, so we were going to Bali. Like we did like I did like a family trip my first time with to Bali, and it's been awesome. Like just because like I sort of grew up on the beach and grew up surfing. Like Bali was always it's got amazing waves all year, and it's everything's so cheap and so great. So Bali was kind of like maybe Cancun or something like that for Americans. So we would just go over there. Like we would rent a villa for a month, like on the beach, super cheap, 18-year-olds, like, and this massive house on the beach, just going surfing in the morning and then just going partying every night. And yeah, that was my first sort of like little taste of different culture, different sort of like being out there, not on my own, but like with friends and yeah, really getting a taste for it, really like finding how finding out how genuine and how amazing people from outside of Australia are, like how kind like the Indonesian people are, and it really such a warm feeling, And then yeah, it's just that was sort of like my first sort of trip. The first maybe 3 or 4 trips were to Bali, Indonesia, and like different places in Bali, to um just to sort of get away from Australia. Australia, I was doing my apprenticeship at the time, so it wasn't like I could go and do like big massive trips like I'm doing now. But yeah,
Right,
that was sort of
right.
like my first real little taste. And what a good taste it was. Shit.
Yeah, and something like that when you experience cultures, outside of your own, it really opens up your eyes and, you see the possibilities, in the world, and you see how large and insignificant you really are and how small you really are.
Definitely, definitely, and just how easy it is. Like you can book a hotel. I mean, especially now, you can book a hotel in 3 seconds, book a flight in 3 seconds. You can be there, and like from Australia anyway to Bali, be there in 6 hours. It's just and everything's so different. And as a young guy, it's, fuck, this is amazing. Like I want to try everything, do everything, and yeah, I mean that was when we were about 18 to about 20. I was going to Bali every 6 months. Because Bali for us is so cheap. Like you can either go to a big festival on one weekend, and it's the same price as going to Bali for 2 weeks. So it's like pretty easy decision.
Oh, absolutely. What did you apprentice in?
I'm an electrician. Yeah, I'm an electrician.
Ah,
So
great trade. We need more of that here
yeah,
in the
yeah,
US.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, hope I can get back there. But yeah, I mean, for my lifestyle, it's the best. Honestly, the best sort of decision I could have made. Like it wasn't. I was still in high school when so I did this thing that was called like a in-school apprenticeship. So I'd go to school one day, I'd go to electrician, like be an electrician one day, I'd go back to school one day, and then I'd go to trade school one day, and then Friday I'd be back at school. So it was kind of like integrated me into the work community before I finished school. So and then it took some time off my actual apprenticeship. So I was finished my apprenticeship when I was 20, 21. And it's such a good way, such a good job for traveling, because I can go back to Australia and I've got a job in 2 seconds. I don't need to work my way up the ranks, so to say, in the corporate world. I can go home and have a job in 5 minutes. It's
Right, because
pretty
it's so in
handy.
demand. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, super handy. Yeah, it's a great job for sure.
We met in 2016 in Thailand. I remember I was on a solo adventure there, and we met in a hostel in Chiang Mai, and I remember you were barefoot everywhere. I thought that was so fucking mad because this is not the U.S. culture, you know? Like you would walk around all of Chiang Mai barefoot, and I was like, "Who is this
That's
guy?
right.
This guy's
Yeah,
crazy."
that's right.
I
That's
I
right.
I
Yeah,
just
I
thought
did. Yeah.
you were fucking mad, dude. But I want you to tell me about that experience and tell me about what led you to Thailand and Chiang Mai in general.
Yeah, that's funny you remember that. Yeah, I was barefoot everywhere. I was yeah, it's just part of our culture. It's just any warm sort of place, like, oh yeah, okay, chuck the shoes off, no need. But sorry, what was the question again? I got derailed. Oh, what
No,
was my
no
first
worries.
sort of trip?
Yeah, so Thailand, what brought you to Thailand and Chiang Mai in particular?
So I'd sort of that was my first sort of big trip outside of Australia, and I was dating a girl who I met in Bali, and she was from Holland, and she came to Australia, and like we were living together and stuff, and I was like, fuck, I'm going to travel. I'm going to travel. Like as soon as I finished my apprenticeship, I was like, I'm getting out of here. I'm going to Europe, and then so what happened is my father's Scottish, and so I was supposed to be able to get a British passport, right? And so I was going to like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go work in Germany, work in Holland, work in Spain, whatever. And then for some formality reasons, because my parents aren't technically married, I couldn't get the British passport. Like we sent my father's birth certificate, we did everything, got blood tests, everything. Like, and just because my parents aren't married, I couldn't get the British passport. So I was like, fuck you, I'm going to go the complete opposite place. Like, where can I go? This just like the craziest place I can think of, and I ended up going to India. So I was in India for 3 months, and I just sort of didn't really have a plan. Just sort of flew into Mumbai, and then ended up buying a few tickets for Rajasthan, and went to incredible places. By the way, absolutely insane. Like just the history, the the people. It's just an amazing place. I recommend it to anyone to go there at all costs. But yeah, so ended up yeah, was in Delhi and then went up to the mountains and then like up in the Himalayas and I just fell in love. Like it was just absolutely incredible. Like went to this hostel and it was like a big family. I was there for a few days and then I left, kept going along my trip, and then the girl that I was dating was like, "Oh fuck, I want to come to Asia as well. Like let's meet in Thailand." I was like, "Oh yeah, sweet, sounds good." So I flew to Thailand and then we the Phuket, and then we started our trip together, and we went sort of up north, and that's where we met you. And then after, like Chiang Mai is beautiful, isn't it? What a place!
What a place, man. Uh, Tell me about some of the
Yeah,
food there. What did you enjoy? Did you enjoy any of the local cuisine, street food?
yeah. I remember there was a lady. I don't know if you remember, but there was a lady who used to stand at the end of the street of the hostel, and she would sell like this. It's like rice, egg. I don't know what it was, but man, I was getting it every day. Like back then, I wasn't too much into food. Like I wasn't, didn't really phase me too much. But I mean, now it's it's a huge factor in like places and where I want to go, like the food. But yeah, the food was just incredible. Just like so many different flavors and so many different variety. Like I remember one dish up there, the papaya salad. Did you ever try that?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah. Good shit, huh? Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, and I think you were talking about the omelet lady. What weren't you?
Yeah,
Was it
could
the Thai
have been
omelets?
yeah. The lady at the end of the street. Yeah,
Yep,
fuck, it was
yep,
good.
dude.
Yeah,
Fuck.
good stuff.
After us going out drinking all night,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
needed something like that,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Rock out and get that for breakfast. Yeah, good stuff.
Dude, yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had a blast.
Good hangover cure.
For sure. I don't know if you remember this, but one night, man, we didn't have too many motorcycles, and I don't think I had one at the time. I just gave it back, or I was getting one the next day. I don't remember. But we hopped on. It was you and I going for a beer run. We were drinking and playing King's Cup,
Oh shit. Oh
and and
shit.
and we were like, you were barefoot, and we were on the same
Yeah.
motorcycle, and we whipped around all of Chiang Mai, going
Sick,
like
sick.
to different convenience stores looking for like booze, and like
Yeah,
it
fuck. I
was
think I remember that. We ended up getting this drink called Red Cock. It was a vodka called Red Cock. Remember that? Or Black Cock or
exact.
something like that. You know the one? Yeah.
The
Sick.
black cock. Was it the I don't know. It was
Yeah.
either one of those. I think it was they have both, but dude, that was one of my favorite memories, just whipping
Yeah.
through Chiang Mai.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's great. There's no rules there. Do whatever you want, you know. It's people get there and it's like, wow, it's just not really lawless, but pretty lawless, you know, compared to the States and Australia.
I would agree with that for sure. Um,
Yeah. But
but
getting back to the trip, I was after that I went to like this is still on the first trip. So after Thailand, we shot over to Laos. And God, it was so beautiful. Like we took a bus from the north to the south, and it's just incredible. Like some of the mountains there are just fucking phenomenal. Like literally, you're walking on flat ground, and it's just a vertical rock like 300 or 400 meters up. I don't know what that is in feet, but just something like I'd never seen before. And then we took a. So you meet people along the way who have done stuff before, and like it's pretty popular to buy a motorbike in the north in Hanoi and ride it all the way down to Saigon in Vietnam. And so I was like, fuck yeah, let's do that. And my girlfriend at the time wasn't that keen. Like, I mean, pretty fucking dangerous. And I don't know how to ride a motorbike, like a motorbike. We were riding scooters. But yeah, so the first day we got to Hanoi, my girlfriend was like, fuck, I need to get a fucking massage. I need to calm down because it's crazy in Saigon, in Hanoi. It's wild. So she went to get a massage, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go have a look at motorbikes. And next thing you know, I bought this little fucking piece of shit, $200 what was it called, a Honda Win, like 100 cc's. And the guy was like, yeah, you and your girlfriend will be all right on it, like going up the mountains and stuff. So I remember I went back to the hotel and told the girlfriend, and she was like, what the fuck? Like, this is a fucking terrible idea. And and we had some friends there at the time, and they were going up north to supper as well. So we were like, all right, sweet, we'll go together. And fuck, this bike just could not hack it. Like going up the mountains, it died on us. Like I mean, I didn't know how to ride a motorbike that well, and I think I killed it. I think I killed the gears, like trying to shift gears or whatever. And we ended up leaving it at just at some guy's house on the side of the mountain, and we're like, fuck, we'll just get the bus up. So we got the bus up and then picked it up on the way down, just rolled it down the mountain, and got the train back to Hanoi and just gave it back to the guy. I was like, fuck, just take this piece of shit off my hands. Just take it, please. And then, yeah. And then we ended up doing the trip on the buses or the trains or whatever. And then, yeah, that was sort of the first trip in Southeast Asia.
Dude, that's epic, man. See, I didn't even know you did all that. We haven't talked, so like since
Yeah, yeah.
dude, I haven't talked to you in what, 7 years or 8 years, something like
Yeah,
that.
pretty much since then. Yeah, pretty much since since we left, I guess. I mean, I've been watching your stories and stuff when you've been in South America and all these different places. So been keeping up to date, but just yeah, I haven't talked. But
Yeah, and same. I keep up with you, but it's hard to actually sit down and have
yeah,
a conversation.
yeah, yeah. And you meet so many people. You can't keep in contact with everybody. I mean, you follow everyone and see what they're up to. And I mean, at every hostel you're going to meet 5 or 6 people.
Absolutely, man. And I try to keep in contact with everyone. That's I'm not good at too many things, but that's one thing I'm good at. Keeping in contact with people. Um,
Yeah, yeah. So after Vietnam, so the girlfriend at the time, she'd been in Australia for a year before, so she was like, "All right, I want to go back to Holland, and then come in a few months." So I was like, "All right, sweet." So I went back to that hostel in the mountains I was telling you about that I fell in love with, and I was like, "Fuck, can I volunteer here for a little bit?" I'm like, yeah, sweet, no worries. So I volunteered there for about 3 months and just became like real brothers with the guys in the hostel. And we were just a big mixed bag of, um, just a real mixed bag of people. Like there was a couple of guys from the north, there was a couple of guys from the south, like a couple of guys from Mumbai, like yeah, some really, 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 really great guys. We really formed a strong bond. And unfortunately, towards the end, there was one of the guys. He was like a junkie from Mumbai, and his friend was the owner of the hostel. And he goes, "Fuck, get away from all that shit. Come up to the mountains, live like a peaceful life." And so he was clean. He was completely sober. Was just living like a shanty life, like really calm. Wanted to marry like someone from the village and just live a calm life. And then one day, like we were just sort of chilling in the hostel, and all of a sudden, like some of the there was construction workers next door, and they were like, "Fuck, like something happened on the roof. Something happened on the roof." And then so we all run up to the roof, and fuck, this guy's name is Marty. He was like convulsing on the floor, and I was like, everyone was just standing around, and I was like, "Fuck, all right, shit." Grabbed him, picked him up, ran downstairs. I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere. This is like a little village in the middle of nowhere, like no hospitals and shit around. So I was like, "Fuck, all right." Like started giving him CPR, like just. I mean, he was pretty cold at that point. but I was giving him CPR and just giving him mouth to mouth and anything that I could for about 5 to 10 minutes. And I was like, fuck, we need to get into the hospital. So picked him up, chucked him on my shoulder, went out to one of the guest house next door. Like we were good friends with them. So he had a car and we're like, fuck, all right. Chucked him in the car, drove like half an hour to the hospital. Like I was running out in traffic jams, like trying to fucking get cars out of the way and shit. And then, finally got to the hospital and they were like, yeah, he's dead, he's cold. You know, that's it, game over. And it's just the fucking hardest thing ever. Like, I remember like having to leave him there at the hospital. Actually, no. We picked him up from the hospital, like from the hospital bed. Like we had to do this, pick him up from the hospital bed, put him back into the car and take him to the morgue. And we had to put him on the bed in the morgue. And like 2 or 3 hours before we were talking to the guy was running up the stairs like normal, you know? And yeah, just in a short matter of time, we don't know exactly what happened. Maybe he touched like an electrical cable or he had like a seizure from whatever. And yeah, he just fucking passed away. I remember calling my girlfriend at the time and just fucking bawling my eyes out, and called my mum and just bawled my eyes out. It was just the fucking hardest thing ever to do. Like the police came and took everybody's statements and everything, and then like they have like a ritual, so I think you have to wait 3 days. You're not meant to bathe. They have a few rules, like you're not meant to bathe, you're not meant to eat certain foods. And we took him, like, so this is in the village, like there's a river that runs through the village, and we take him to like there's a cremation spot. So he was an orphan, right? Like he poor guy, he had a fucked up childhood. He was an orphan, but he had like two uncles, and they came up for the ceremony or whatever you call it, and they were just assholes. You know, we were his family. You know, like we were his brothers. You know, and we like he rubbed, it's called ghee, kind of like butter sort of thing, and yeah, you rub it all over his body. Like everybody gets a bit, and you rub it over his body, and then you burn the body, and then flush it down the river. Yeah, that was a pretty hard one to get over. I'll tell you. Yeah, that was a pretty hard one to get over. Like I had a lot of nightmares from that. Like the same thing happening over and over again. Like I just could never save him. You know, I could never get him back. Fucking CPR never worked. You know?
Holy
But then,
hell, man.
yeah, that was definitely a rough one. It fucked me up for a while. That's for sure. So I stayed at the hostel for about 2 more weeks and just sort of like decompressed, and all the other guys stayed, and yeah, just sort of like got our shit together a little bit, and then yeah, some of the guys went home. So there's a season for the mountains. So you go to the mountains about 4 or 5 months of the year, and then so yeah, the season was coming to an end. So everyone sort of went home, and then I was like, all right, fuck, I got to go to Holland, and then with my girlfriend at the time, and then yeah, got like a visa sorted for Holland. Like I was about to start working, and then my girlfriend at the time was like, oh yeah, so I don't love you anymore. You kidding me? Like I just fucking got here. Like what the fuck? And then so we tried to make it work for a few months, or not even a few months, maybe a few weeks, maybe like 4 or 5 weeks, and then just wasn't working. So a buddy of mine, actually, he called me and was like, "Fuck, dude, I'm in California. Come to California. I'm working on a weed farm." I was like, "Dude, that sounds like a fucking dream. All right, let's do it." So packed up my shit, went to California, worked on a weed farm, like a fucking massive weed farm with like all different backpackers from around the world. Everyone there, kind of for the love of pot, but also just, I mean, and to make money as well, obviously. But just a really, really great experience. You know, like really kind people. Like I had a few friends from home that were there, and it was good to be around those guys. You know, really made everything a lot better. But fuck, what an experience working on a weed farm, waking up every day, and there's like, all right, here's your fucking massive box of weed. You got to trim it down to make it look beautiful and pretty, and like you can smoke whatever you want. And it's just, oh, it was a great time, I tell you.
Where was that? It was that in Humboldt County?
No, so I did a season in Humboldt County, but this one was down near near Hollister.
Ah, wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So this is like just when weed became legal. So it was like there wasn't many rules and regulations. So they just had a huge fucking farm. But then, so that was for 2 months, and then so I was saying in India they have a mountain they have a season in the mountains, so for 3 or 4 months in the mountains, and then they go down to a place called Goa. I don't know if you've ever heard of Goa.
I have not.
So it's kind of like where Psytrance was born. Like that's where all the hippie trail was in the '60s. Like that's where people went and just hung out in the bush, barefoot, no clothes, just fucking listen to Psytrance all day. So went there. So it was the same owners of the hostel. So it was all the same guys. It was all the same family. It was all the same name of the hostel. Just sort of lived there for 3 or 4 months and just sort of bumming around, going to parties, just really fucking enjoying. Like it's not like incredibly beautiful. Like I mean, coming from Australia, we have the best beaches in the world, so it's kind of a high standard. But just living on the beach every day again, like on these crazy parties. Like the parties are right on the beach. Just just an awesome time. It's so much fun. Highly recommend anyone to go to Goa for sure. And then so yeah, after that I was like, all right, fuck, it's been a while. I've been out of home for I think it was about a year and a half at that stage, maybe almost close to 2 years. So I was like, all right, fuck, I'll go back home for a little bit. So then that was my first trip. It was a hell of a trip, I tell you. It really I don't know if you say you get bitten by the bug, but because I always sort of had like this travel this I wouldn't call it a demon, but like I had this inside me that I always wanted to travel. Like I always wanted to know what was around the next corner. Always like always wanted, oh, what's going on over there? Like it's, it's just inside of some people. So then yeah, I was back in Australia for a year, making some money as an electrician, then do it all again.
So I want to shift gears to Chile. Chile.
Yeah,
When was the first time that you went there, and what sparked that interest in that country?
good question. I fucking love Chile so much. Such an incredible place. So it all sort of started like I sort of got back from my last trip, and like maybe a month later, not even, maybe like 3 or 4 weeks later, I was at a bar at home and I met this beautiful little Chilean girl. And we were dating for maybe, we dated for maybe for the year that I was at home. And she went off and did her farm work, like close to Sydney. So she'd come back every weekend and we had a great time. She was such a cool person, so nice, so friendly, like just like I'd never met that level of, that kindness, that level of caring, that level of, I don't know if it's in their culture or if it's just her, but just, I don't know. I fell in love with it before I even got there. And then like all of our stories, all of our photos of the place was just, fuck, that place is fucking cool. Right. So, so when I planned to go to Chile, it was a winter time. Right. So I was like, all right, fuck. I'm going to go to Mexico first. Just because I wanted to leave Australia. I was home in Australia for a year. I was like, all right, I need to get out. Went up to Mexico because it was warm. And I started, I mean, I'd done it before, but I was doing these like stick and poke tattoos just on all these different travelers, which was really cool. And not for money or anything, like just because I loved it. And then I met this one guy. And he was like, "Fuck, I'm going back to the weed farms in California." So I was like, "All right, fuck, let's do it." Like it. So I went back there for another 2 or 3 months. And these guys are all Argentinian, right? So they're all from the same kind of area. And so I was talking to them, getting their advice, and I was telling them, yeah, I'm going to buy a motorbike. I'm going to go around South America. And then one of them convinced me to, not convince me, but they were like, "Fuck, you should get a little van, do it in a little van. Like it's just much more comfortable, like when it's raining and all that sort of shit." So I was like, all right, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to get a van. And yeah, so I finished up my time in California, made a bit more money, and then flew down to Chile, to Santiago, where my ex-girlfriend was from. And she was like, and I stayed with her family, like the kindest people ever. So she wasn't there at the time. She was traveling in Thailand or Philippines. And she was like, yeah, go stay with my family, it's fine. Like, and she was coming in 2 weeks anyway. So I was going to see her then. She was like, yeah, go stay with my family. And they were just the kindest, warmest people I've ever met. Like just so welcoming, so nice. I mean, I didn't speak much Spanish at that point, not that I do now, but they were just so kind. Like the food they would make, I mean, of course you've tried ceviche, right?
Of course, yes.
Yeah. So her dad makes the best ceviche I've ever eaten, and he makes like homemade mayonnaise as well. So you get like bread, a little bit of mayonnaise, and the ceviche on top. Oh my god! Just I mean, my ex girlfriend was telling me all about this when I was in Australia, and I was like, oh, it sounds okay. But when I got there, holy shit, it was so fucking good. Just honestly, it's my favorite meal. Like just the different textures and the lime sauce mixed with the fish. Just one of my favorite dishes. So then, like before she got there, I was staying in her family home, and I was looking for a little car, and wasn't having trouble finding them. It's just kind of hard not speaking Spanish and like going and looking at cars and that sort of shit. And in Australia, we don't drive manual cars, so we drive automatic. So all the cars there are manual. So I was having a bit of trouble like looking at cars and that sort of thing. So when my girlfriend at the time came, she helped me buy. She was only there for 2 weeks, and she helped me buy a car, and I made like a bed in the back and made some cupboards and everything. And she was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna come as well. But no, I was like, fuck, that sounds fucking amazing, like absolutely amazing. So we did like a few little test trips in the car just to make sure everything was running right down to a place called Pucon. Did you ever go there?
I've never been there. Where is it at? Is in Chile?
Yeah, so it's maybe 4 hours or so south of Santiago, and it's just incredible. Like the bluest lakes you've ever seen. It's called like the Seven Lake region or something like that. And there's all these like the seven lakes sort of stacked on top of each other. Not stacked on top of each other, but like if you look at Chile, like one after the other, like maybe like 20 k's apart from each other. And they were just incredible. Like we did like a little mini trip around there, and everything was good with the car. And then we came back for a wedding or something like that. And then we really hit the south. We started like getting down to Puerto Montt in Chiloé, like this little island that comes off Chile, and then man, and having the car was it was a game changer. You know, like having the freedom, having like and you could sleep in the back of the car, so you could pull up. I was pulling up to the most beautiful lakes with volcanoes in the background, with like you could see the glowing from the lava coming out of like the top of the volcano. I was like, I mean, I come from Australia, we don't have volcanoes. I was like, is this fucking safe? You know, like is this all right? Is this about to kick off? But she assured me, she was like, yeah, it's normal. It's normal for Chile. We get earthquakes and that sort of stuff. I was like, all right, if you say so. So yeah, we kept going down south. I highly recommend this trip to anybody and everybody. It's called Carretera Austral. I even told you about it. It's called Carretera Austral. It starts from like you get a boat from Puerto Montt down to I can't remember what it's called. One of these towns, and then it starts there, and you start driving south all the way down to Ushuaia. But man, like I'd just be you'd be driving down the street, and there's a fucking glacier there, like a massive glacier, volcano there, river right there. I was fishing every day, like eating trout for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like it got to the point where I was sick of eating trout just because we were catching so many fish. And like the water's crystal clear. You can drink the water straight from the river. The people were just so nice as well. Like people inviting me to their homes, and like I mean, it was a bit difficult because I didn't speak Spanish, but luckily my girlfriend at the time was there, so she could sort of talk for me and like engage with the local people more than I could. But just to see such friendly people, just I just really fell in love with it. You know, like it really felt like the wilderness. You know, like you could go park your car anywhere and not see anybody for days. You know, like next to a river, under a glacier, like just really wild. You know, maybe kind of like what Alaska is, but I just found something special there. You know, and then we got down to Puerto Natales, and then we do I mean, crisscrossing in and out of Argentina. So I went to like Calafate. It's like a glacier the size of Buenos Aires, which is fucking humongous.
Yeah,
And
Perito Moreno Glacier. Is that right?
could be fucking huge, like the size of Buenos Aires, like massive.
Yeah, it's I visited there too.
Yeah, just incredible. Like the deep blues. Did you take the boat down on the water?
We did not. We just walked on the little deck. We did. We just didn't have the time to take the boat. I wanted to.
Yeah, same as us, and it was not in the budget either. So
That too.
yeah, yeah. But then yeah, so you crisscross sort of in and out of Argentina, but yeah, I mean, Argentina is great, but I found it was. I mean, coming from Ppt.travel, it was desert. Argentina just seemed like a desert to me, you know. And then you cross back into Chile, and it's these crazy mountains with glaciers and massive high volcanoes, and then you cross back into Argentina, it's just desert. And you cross back into so that's, I don't know. A lot of people say like Patagonia is Argentina, but I think the most beautiful part of it is Chile. Like I think it's just super fucking incredible, you know. And yeah, so we ended up getting down to Puerto Natales, and there's like a famous trek down there. What's it called? Not
The
Fitzroy.
national park, right? It's the Torres del Paine National Park.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, Torre de Panes. That's it. Yeah. So we did a 4 or 5 day trek there, and I'd never really done trekking before, and I just fell in love with trekking. Like this was the coolest shit ever. Because, like I was saying before, like my dad used to take us fishing. We used to go camping as kids. Like it just everything sort of like lined up perfectly, and it was just like, wow, this sport is fucking awesome. Like this is something I can do forever. Like just the roughness of it, like camping, not showering, like cooking your own food, like being like really self-reliant. I loved it, you know. And the scenery was incredible. It was just the mountains and everything around there is just incredible. There's a reason it's so popular, you know. Just super special. And then yeah, so that was about 3 months it took us to get down to the bottom of Chile. And then so the girlfriend at the time, she was like, fuck, she had to go back to Australia to do a second year visa. You have to do a second year working holiday visa. So she went back. This is just before COVID, like 2 weeks before COVID. Like we were sitting in the van, and they were like popping up all this sort of stuff about COVID. 2 cases in Chile, 5 cases in Australia, all this sort of stuff. I'm like, this is this is fucking crazy. So she flew back to Santiago, and she was going to stay there for like a week. And I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'll drive back up and I'll see you. So we have like one more week together. And then so I drove 3,000 kilometers in 3 days in this little bread van. Got back to Chile, and then she flew back to Australia and was like, all right, I'm gonna go to. I had some friends from one of the weed farms I worked on in Buenos Aires, so I went over there, and it really started kicking off with COVID. Like they said, okay, anyone who's not in Chile from like 12 p.m. on Tuesday night, this is Saturday, we're closing the borders. And because my car was from Chile, I couldn't sell it as a foreigner outside of Chile. So I was like, all right, fuck, I'm gonna drive back to Chile. At least I can sort of hang out there. And I went back, and I got like a big stockpile of food and got like a big stockpile of weed, and just went down to the mountains for like for 2 weeks. And then so in Chile, the military took over the police. So the police had no control. The military took over, and they were looking for foreigners. So I was parked under this bridge, like no one was going to find me. And I went to like the market one day to get some water. Like just it was maybe like 2 k's from where I was. So I was like, oh fuck, I'll just walk. And yeah, some military saw me, and like I was trying to be like nonchalant, had my hoodie on, just kept walking, and they must have known like it's a camping spot. So they came down and were like, oh, you need to get the fuck out of here. Like you need to go back to Santiago. So foreigners couldn't go any other direction in Santiago. You had to be going north. There was like checkpoints and shit. You had to be going north from where I was. You couldn't go south. You couldn't go anywhere else. I was like, fuck, they know where I am. I can't go anywhere else. Went back to Santiago, and then Australia put out like a notice saying, okay, we're putting restrictions on Australia now. If anybody's not in Australia in the next week, we're like they're stopping all flights and stuff. So like, oh, fuck, all right, maybe it's time to call it. And yeah, flew back home, and yeah, like I got put like my flight landed at 7 a.m. They put the restriction in: anyone who arrives after 6 a.m. has to go to hotel quarantine for 2 weeks. So I was stuck in a fucking hotel in Sydney, oh no, in Melbourne actually, for 2 weeks, just in like a big fish tank, sort of like hotel, like no open windows, no no nothing. That was pretty rough. And then eventually got out and went back to Sydney. But yeah, fuck Chile after that trip, just it's just so wild and so rugged. Like there's no other place I've ever seen before, and the people were just so fine. But yeah, I ended up leaving my car with my girlfriend at times parents where we were staying, so it stayed there for like 2 years until I could get back there. It had trees growing out of it and stuff.
Man, that's a proper adventure, Lochie. I mean, that's something
Yeah,
that a lot of people will never get to experience. And I mean, I hope someone
yeah,
gets inspired to do a little trip and take some of your advice. I mean, dude, come on. That's
yeah,
incredible, man.
yeah. It's a great spot. I cannot recommend Chile more. Like just the people are so kind. Just the food is great. Like yeah, it's couldn't recommend it anymore. And they've got a hitchhiking culture. So what happens is like when kids finish high school, they'll do like a trip down to Puerto Natales to do the Tour de Pine trek, and they'll hitchhike, and it's completely safe. I mean, relatively safe. You hear some crazy stories, but there's kids just hitchhiking. Like we picked up kids, chucked them in the back of the car, was driving down for a couple of hours, let them out. It's such a safe country. I mean, relatively compared to the rest of South America. Like it just really has a special place in my heart.
That's good culture, man. Just helping people out and being in nature in general and something that rugged and something that vast. Uh, it
Yeah,
needs to be shared. It needs to be shared with people, and people need to see something like that in their life, I think.
yeah. And Chile's a great spot for it. The people are so kind. They'll welcome you into the home without knowing any Spanish and give you food and everything. Like, man, I was fishing on the beach and stuff, and like, so there was a guy fishing like scuba diving for octopus, and he would like I was like catching fish in rivers is super easy in Chile, but not in the ocean. In the ocean is so fucking difficult. I don't know why. I just had no luck in the ocean. So I was standing on a rock for maybe like 2 hours fishing, didn't catch anything. And this guy was like, I saw this guy swimming in the water. I was like, what the fuck's he doing? He came out of the water with this massive sack. Like I'm talking like maybe four pillowcases size sack filled with octopus, filled with like sea urchins and stuff. And I was like, hey, what an octopus? And just hands me this massive fucking octopus. Like, oh yeah, sweet, cool, thank you so much. Like cooked up, had the best feed ever that night. Cooked up some octopus on a wood fire barbecue, just from the generosity of this guy. Yeah, just people. I mean, like so. The second when I went back, I had a after COVID had a few like issues with the car, like going up to altitude. Some like in what's it called, San Pedro de Atacama. I had some issues going up with the altitude so fast because you go from sea level to 2,500 meters altitude in 2 hours. So I don't know if that's what caused some of my pipes in my car to explode. But man, mechanics wouldn't charge me any money. Like once they saw that my car had a bed in the back and was like, because it's not like it wasn't like a camper van, it's just like a little van, just like a little, they call it a pan van, like a bread van, So like this little, kind of like a little car with a box on the bottom. And I just put this like little bed inside and made like cupboards and stuff. So once they saw that, they're like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like wouldn't charge me any money. Like I had to like fuck, do you drink beer? Like, oh yeah, we drink beer. So I ended up just giving them a 6 pack of beer for them fixing my car for like 2 hours, and like if somebody didn't know how to fix something, they'd send me to another mechanic, and nobody ever charged me. People were just so fucking kind.
That's a generosity you don't see everywhere, and you don't get
Yeah,
everywhere. No one's gonna be a mechanic for you for free in most parts of the world because, I mean, to be fair, they need money and they got a skill set. But that speaks volumes to Chilean culture, right?
yeah, yeah. Really, really recommend the place for anybody. People are so kind. Not so much English, so try and learn a little bit of Spanish before you go. I mean, I didn't know much Spanish, but I had a girlfriend who spoke Spanish, made it a lot easier. But yeah, going to mechanics, like you can say, oh, tengo problem aquí, and like I'd point to the problem, like I have a problem here, and they'd be like, okay, like you can see the problem, so you can sort of get by, but there's not too much English, not too much English at all. And that was the only sort of hurdle that I had to get over.
Yeah, no, and with Google Translate now and everything that's accessible by your phone is is now available, and you can do more stuff, and
That's
especially
true.
if you download the Spanish and do all that. But uh, it's good to learn some Spanish and just learn a few words. Not you don't have to be fluent, but like you
Yeah,
said, just know a couple words, basic, general words, can
yeah,
really take you a long way.
definitely,
And they
definitely.
respect it. They respect it.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, it's yeah. Rather than just going like shoving a phone in their face, like yo, read this. You can say, oh, yeah, tengo problema aquí. Like I have a problem right here.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah,
sort of thing. Just little things, like just a couple of weeks on Duolingo or something like that, or and you'll be all right. You know.
yeah. You're right.
But their Spanish is difficult. Their Spanish is really difficult. They talk really fast. Like I just said the whole time I was going lento, 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 por favor, like please slow down because I cannot understand what the fuck you're saying. They just talk so fast.
Yeah, it's regarded as one of the more tougher dialects because they talk very fast and it's tonal. I think it's one of the only dialects in Spanish dialects that is tonal.
Yeah, and they just have so much slang. Like something that's if you call somebody in Argentina way on, it's super rude. Whereas in Chile, it's like calling somebody a mate. It's like calling somebody a friend. So yeah, super super different from every country you go to in South America.
Right, a lot of nuance there.
Mm, yeah,
Um,
very interesting place.
that's awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing Chile and your experiences there. I mean, if by after hearing that, if people don't want to go there, um, I don't know what they want to hear, right? But
Crazy.
I want to shift gears into your current trip. So you're
Yeah.
essentially cycling across the world. You started in UK. You started
Once,
in
well,
Scotland.
started in Amsterdam, sorry, and then I went up to England.
Ah, okay, okay. So I had that backwards. You went kind of opposite and came back. Talk about that trip, where you started, and how's you're on that trip now. How's your journey been?
Oh man, it's been great. Like so I never really pictured myself riding a bike, but like I had some problems when I was trying to cross the borders from Chile into Peru and Bolivia. So because I don't have like a social, it's basically a social security number and all this sort of paperwork, they wouldn't let me take the car out of Chile. Just some fucking bureaucratic bullshit. Like but in the south you can cross into Argentina and then cross back, but for some reason in the north they don't let you because they don't think you're going to bring the car back, and the car has a Chilean license plate. So I thought to myself, fuck, how can I? It's just the best way to travel. To have your own transport, it's just the best way to travel. So I thought, how the fuck can I get around this? Click, I'll get a bike because you don't need registration, like you don't need insurance, you don't need anything. It's just like walking across the border. So once I sort of got that idea in my head, that was it, game over. Like I was set. Like no real like biking experience, no real. I'm not really an athlete. I mean, yeah, it's been a long time since I've done any like sports. So I'm not super fit. So but I wasn't too worried. Like, I mean, I knew I was flying into Holland and then going to Belgium and then to France. And I know those are flat as fuck countries. So I was like, all right, I'll build up a little bit of muscle, get myself ready. And then when I get to Switzerland and shit, I'll be all right. So, yeah, basically I flew into Amsterdam with the bike and literally set the bike up in the airport. Like they've got a special room for it actually. So you go to this room, take it out of the box, set your bike up and ride like a road out of the airport to this first like city camping inside Amsterdam city. And I remember like it was the first day, so I didn't have like the correct bags that connect to the bike. I was just with a rucksack. And I remember going out of the airport just going, what the fuck am I doing? This is the fucking this is crazy. Like this is the worst idea. It was pissing down with rain. I was like, this is the fucking worst idea. Like my ass was so I didn't have the right seat, had like a mountain biking seat, so there was no cushion, no pad, no nothing. Remember I got to the camping and I was gonna stay in Amsterdam for a few days. And the first day, just like a 30-kilometer ride from the airport, what's that, maybe 15, 20 miles, like not much. My ass was so sore. I was like, fuck, this is not gonna work. So I went to the shop and I was like, give me the most cushiony seat you've got. Like I need some serious support here. Yeah, I got like a gel seat, and then yeah, I got the correct bag, so there wasn't like as much weight on my shoulders, like pushing down on my ass onto the seat. So everything was right. So yeah, I just started riding towards France, basically towards the boat that goes to the UK. Because I've got a mate who's living in London at the moment. He's been there for maybe like a good mate of mine. Like last time when I went back to Australia, he I took his apartment, and so he was living in London, and he had like a really nice apartment in London as well. So he was like, yeah, come, you can stay on the couch or whatever. So yeah, I started making my way towards London, and I was doing a lot better than I thought. I mean, it's obviously pretty flat in Holland and Belgium, so I was doing some decent kilometers in the first few weeks. I was doing maybe like just, I mean, for somebody who doesn't ride, I was doing maybe like 70 to 100 k's a day with not the best weather. I mean, there was good days and bad days with weather. What Holland and Europe can be like. But yeah, so eventually got to the boat, took the boat over to London, to England, right up to London, and stayed with him for about a month. And I've got some family. I mean, I told you my dad's Scottish, so yeah, went up and stayed with the family for a while, for maybe a week and a half. Got to see my nan, see the rest of my family. Like really good to see them. I don't get to see them too much. Because my dad and his brother were the only ones who came to Australia, and his brother doesn't live anywhere near us, so we don't have too much family around us. It was so nice to be able to walk to my nan's house and then walk to my uncle's house, and then I never really had that. It was really nice. I really really enjoyed my time in Scotland, and then yeah, so went back to London, and then started riding again. And man, I don't know what the issue was. Well, I sort of had an idea, but I was getting flat tires every single day. Like I was like, "Fuck, this can't be normal. Like just flat tires every day." You know what the worst thing is, right? So it wouldn't go flat when you're riding. I'd stop and have lunch and smoke a joint, and then get back on the bike, and it'll be flat. Because when you're moving, it doesn't go flat. It's like when it's sitting still, all the air drains out. And so I'd be like, all right, smoke a joint, get back on the bike, flat tire. Fuck me, it's so demoralizing. Is that the right word? Demoralizing. Just so demotivating. Just literally every day. Some days I was having two or three. I kept a tally on one of my bags. I think it's up to like 45 flat tires. But so I was trying everything, changing all the. I mean, I don't know much about bikes. I was changing all the tape on the inside of the bikes, changed the actual, not the tire but the wheel, like with the spokes and stuff, and I was still having some issues. Anyway, so I kept riding, and I planned to do the trip with a mate that I'd met on the last trip. We did the Salkantay trek up to Machu Picchu together, and so we met in London, and he joined me for about 2 weeks, and I tell you, it's quite difficult traveling on a bike with somebody else, because if I want to stop, maybe he doesn't want to stop, or maybe he's exhausted, I'm fine and can keep going, or I don't know, it's just quite difficult. And we ended up coming to blows after a couple of beers one night, and I told him to fuck off, and he goes, "You want me to fuck off? You want me to fuck off? All right, I'm fucking off." And he just walked off into the nighttime, and that was the last time I saw him. And then, but to be honest, it's the trip's much better, but much like this kind of trips a lot easier solo. Like being able to stop whenever I want, being able to go with whatever route I wanted to go. If I felt like doing a big day, I could do a big day. If I felt like just going 50 k's, whatever it was, I could do that. So it ended up being for the best. So yeah, then crossed. Yeah, so from France went into Basel. It's like a border town between Germany, Switzerland, and France, and then rode towards Zurich. And man, these places are beautiful, like crazy mountains and just good food. I mean, good food, but I mean, it's quite not poor, but quite expensive in Europe, like compared to Southeast Asia and India and all these sort of places. So I was living on salami and bread and tins of tuna and stuff. So I wasn't really like eating in nice restaurants or like getting the full culinary experience of Europe. Like wasn't that sort of trip. It was more to see everything. So yeah, started riding towards Switzerland, and yeah, got to Zurich, and fuck, that place is so expensive. But rode through the city one day. It was super nice. Like people are super kind. Like people are swimming in the like in the middle of the city, like in this canal. Like there's parties going on and stuff. Like really seemed like a cool city. It's just like 13 euros for a beer, you know. So I couldn't really afford it. Couldn't really stay for too long. So I started riding through the mountains, and like you start seeing snow at the top of these mountains, and it's like, fuck, I've got to get up there, you know. Like there's, you see the road, and it starts going up and up and up and up and up. So across maybe like I think it's 2,000 meters of elevation in like a day or two, and yeah, just super beautiful, super beautiful. And I got down to the other side, like so. Finally get to the top, take a photo on top of the mountain with all the snow around, and then ride down the other side. And like it's like I was camped on this river, super beautiful. Like it's not on a river, so on like a lake, and there's all these really high peak mountains around. And all of a sudden, like a storm starts rolling in. It's like, oh, fuck, maybe it might not hit us, maybe it will. So it must have started raining in the mountains before. So all this water started coming down the mountain, sort of to where I was camping, and then it started raining where I was, and so I was kind of like tucked in between the lake and a railroad track, and the railroad track was maybe elevated maybe 10 to 15 meters, maybe 30 foot, 40 foot. And there was like an archway. So I hit under the archway, and the rain just got heavier and heavier. So I moved all my gear under this archway, and it was dry for about 5 minutes. And then all of a sudden, this flash flood came straight through the archway because all the rain that was being collected by the at the top of the mountain, and finally get to the bottom of the mountain where I was, and it all could only come through this one archway, and all my shit just got flooded. My power bank, my phone, my solar panel. Like I had an e-cigarette at the time, and I saw that going like getting like washed away in the flood. Like it was like it wasn't scary, but it was just like holy shit, it was just fucking crazy. It wasn't cold either, so that wasn't too bad. But just everything was soaked, and then 5 minutes later, sun comes out, all nice. But that was a pretty rough night, like sleeping in a soaking wet sleeping bag, in a soaking wet tent, with no phone, no nothing. Like I had to end up riding. The next day, I ended up riding back to the town to buy a phone and get a SIM card and all this sort of shit. But the SIM cards don't work for 3 days. So I had to get somebody to hotspot me for a minute, and I downloaded all these maps from where I was until Milan. And I was like, all right, fuck, just completely off grid for 3 or 4 days. And yeah, just gunned it to Milan, like with no phone reception. Like, so when somebody hotspotted me, I just texted my mum. I'm like, fuck, look, just been caught in a flash flood. I'm fine. Everything's good. I'm just going to get to Milan and like stop there for a little bit and get everything sorted. And I did. Everything was fine. Got to Milan, got all new stuff and serviced the bike, and yeah, kept going from there. Rode down Italy. So I rode from Milan to a place called Genova, and that's where you see all like the colorful houses on the hill just in front of the pristine, clear ocean, and it was fucking gorgeous. Like I'd never seen anything like it. You know, like just beautiful. And obviously, it was super expensive to stay there. Like all really nice hotels and stuff. So I went a little bit out of the town, and I was like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna camp on the side of this mountain. So I walked up like behind this cemetery, like probably walked up maybe 20 minutes up this mountain with my bike, all my gear, like lugged it up the mountain. Got to this spot. It was maybe like like the ground was maybe like a 20-degree angle, so I wasn't sleeping flat. And then, like in the middle of the night, I just hear this like pitter patter, like this super, like accurate. Yeah, we'll go with accurate, super accurate, like footsteps. Like something was like taking one step and another step, like really precise. That's what I'm looking for. Really precise footsteps, like not like a pig running through mud, or not like a fucking dog jumping around like crazy. It was, what the fuck? What the hell is this?
Like a predator almost.
Yeah, yeah. And it was like it was circling my tent, and it got closer and closer to the entrance. And I was like, what the fuck is this? So I got out with my trusty little Leatherman and my torch, and started screaming, like going fucking crazy. and nothing happened. Nothing moved. So I was like, oh fuck. All right, went back into the tent. I started hearing these footsteps again. I was like, what the fuck is that? So I Googled dangerous animals in Italy. And the first thing that came up was wolves. I was like, holy fuck, holy fuck, holy fuck. And then like this was at this point, it was like maybe 5 meters, like the footsteps were maybe 5 meters away from the entrance of my tent, not even, maybe like 3 meters away from the entrance of my tent. So I was like, holy fuck, all right, shit. After I knew that it was wolves, I got out and fucking started screaming, like screaming. And then I saw one's face, like down, like under these bushes sort of thing. So I was like elevated. So I was saying it was like a 20% gradient, the mountain. So I was on the high ground and they were like below me. And I got out and like screaming, like, get the fuck out of here. Like people on the other side of the mountain must have been like, what the fuck is going on over there? But I was screaming my head off and they just weren't scared at all. Like I could see one of them, I could see his face, I could see the body of another one. And then they just weren't scared. Like I was shining my torch in their face and stuff, and they were sort of like ducking down into the shadows. I was like, holy fuck, like I'm not in control here at all. Like this is the first time that maybe shit's gonna go down. Maybe like this is actually a dangerous situation. And then like fuck, like just saw this massive rock, picked up this rock and just started pelting rocks down in the shadows where they were. And then they just sort of scattered away. And then I heard one behind me. So it was three of them, two in front and one behind me. And saw them run away. Like I could see them run away. I was like, holy fuck. All right, grab my sleeping bag, grab my mattress, grab my like a backpack, had a little bit of hash, took some hash, and ran down the mountain as fast as I could, like screaming and shit. And as I'm running down the mountain, you're hearing all these other animals. You're thinking, like, fuck, is that another fucking wolf? Yeah, so left all my gear on the mountain. Like my tent was still on the mountain. Ran down, just slept on the street. I got a photo of where I set up my tent, just outside the cemetery, just in the middle of town, and just slept there for the night. Like called one of my mates and like, dude, you never guess what the fuck just happened. And yeah, so didn't get much sleep that night, I tell you. Like so much adrenaline pumping through my veins, you know, like just could not sleep. So then anyway, went up, like sun finally came up, and I was like, all right, I'll be all right to go up to the tent now. And I was expecting it to be ripped apart, like and ripped to shreds, because I had food in there. That was a problem. I had food like just a few hours before I was cooking sausages, you know. So that's obviously what they were smelling. And so I went back up to the tent expecting everything to be destroyed and ripped up to shreds, but everything was fine. There was no evidence of any wolf or anything in the tent. Went back to sleep for a couple of hours and yeah, packed up and kept going. And then yeah, so yeah, that was a pretty wild one. That shook me for a couple of days for sure. Like that was like fuck. I mean, I had no control whatsoever. You know, just really, yeah, no control.
Those wolves
So
had a plan. They had a they were that was calculated, right?
dude, that was, I don't know if it's stalking, but they circled my tent. You know, like I heard it behind me, and I heard them make precise footsteps, like all around and all around. It was so sort of precise. I thought maybe it's a snake or something, like just like I don't know what the fuck it was. Like, and then I googled like dangerous animals in Italy. First thing was wolves. Like holy fuck, that's not good. And then yeah, luckily it scared them away. But luckily nothing like that's happened so far. I'll always keep a big mound of rocks next to my tent at night just in case, and then my Leatherman handy always right there. But yeah, luckily nothing's ever happened since. I mean, I was camping out, like I got my confidence back a little bit. Like I was camping outside, maybe like in 20 minutes outside Florence, just so I don't have to pay for a hostel for the night, just in the mountains, like full wolf territory. But just sort of met some people who were like, oh, wolves aren't too bad. It's just like a big dog. So I mean, it's still fucking pretty scary. But after that, I was prepared. So I had like didn't bring any food to the camps, didn't cook at camps. Just always had rocks, always had an escape route like ready just in case, or like camp near water. Maybe I could jump in the water or something, just in case, you know. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a
man.
pretty wild one.
Dude, because you never know, man. They could have taken you apart. Honestly, if they would
Dude,
have converged on that tent, all three of
yeah,
them.
yeah. I mean, and we from Australia. We don't have wolves. I don't have any experience with these sort of animals. So like, pretty scary stuff. and then you get to places like Croatia. So got down to rode down to Rome, and then I got the train up to Venice. Just because fuck, I'm not going to ride down and then ride all the way back up because we only get 3 month visa for Europe. So I was sort of getting towards the 2 month mark at that point. So I took the train up to Venice, and then you go through places like Slovenia, and they've got statues of wolves everywhere. Like as you enter the border, there's like statues of wolves. Like, oh, they're here. They're definitely motherfucking here. But yeah, just after that, I was super careful. Like just always keeping a pile of rocks next to me. Always having an escape route was good. But yeah, it was definitely a learning experience.
Wow, man, that is insane, Lochie. That is
Yeah.
insane, man.
Yeah, that was a wild one. But then you get to the coast, and so I rode down the coast of Croatia after Slovenia. I think Slovenia.
Slovenia,
Yeah,
and yeah,
so rode down the coast of Croatia, and there's not gonna be any wolves there. It's too populated. But yeah, fuck, the coast of Croatia is just beautiful as well. Like something out of a postcard. Every single beach is like white sand, um, crystal clear water, beautiful rocks, like super crystal clear water, like blue water, like really, really nice. And I was just some places I wouldn't even set up my tent. I just put my towel on the sand and just sleep on the sand, or because they have a pretty strict rule with wild camping because they get a lot of people who come from the UK and from Holland and Germany and stuff like that in their camper vans, and they camp in all these spots you're not meant to camp. So the police are pretty onto it. So I was pretty wary where I was camping. So I was just camping like somewhere where you could pack up really fast, or somewhere that was pretty out of sight. And just so nice waking up on the beach there, like because it's so warm at that time of year. It's just so nice. And then yeah, get down to sort of like up to Croatia. I went into Bosnia and Herzegovina, or whatever the other country was with it, and that was beautiful as well. Like that's a completely different kind of beauty. Like that's crazy mountains and gorges and rivers, and just I was really lucky with weather as well. I had really pristine weather. Like it didn't after Holland, I really didn't have too many. I mean, and getting caught in that flood, I really didn't have too many bad days. So I got pretty lucky. But yeah, riding through the mountains there. So and these countries are pretty small. You can knock out a country in maybe 4 or 5 days. I mean, it's like 300 k's from side to side. So and you're not going from side to side. You're sort of cutting in the middle and then going down. So then yeah, after Bosnia, you go into Montenegro, and that's another crazy beautiful mountain place as well. Like just insane. And the people are super nice there as well. The food is so different. Like the people's faces change. Like that's one thing I really love about being on the bike as well. Like you really notice the changes in the culture and the changes in the people's faces. Like you're not just driving really fast through. Like you really go from town to town. You can see the gradual change in the people and the food and and the way they live. And the houses are so different. It's really, really interesting way to travel. I never even considered it before I had the car. I was like, you know what? How can I get around all those issues of crossing borders? Bicycle. But yeah, it turned out to be the best decision. So yeah, in Montenegro, you really start to see people's faces change and really start to see the culture change. And then you cross into Kosovo, really underrated country. Like the people were so kind there. Like I don't know if it was food poisoning on one day or just real sick, and like I was vomiting and stuff. And this guy was like, "Fuck, come to my house. You can just stay in my house. It was no problem." Like so, I ended up just staying in this guy's house. Super nice, just on his couch. Like really, really nice guy. And yeah, like felt better in the morning and just kept going and like gave me food and everything. And then yes, I mean all these countries are super small, so it takes 3 or 4 days to cross your crazy mountains though. So you're going up and down a lot. Super beautiful. And then crossed into Macedonia, North Macedonia, where Alexander the Great's from, which is super interesting for me. I love that sort of stuff. Like that was one thing that I wanted to do was like see where he's from, sort of like travel the same sort of ways. It was interesting for me to like fuck. Like, he sort of went the same sort of route that I'm going through Turkey and all that sort of places. Like he probably walked past this river. He probably walked past this like this mountain, you know. And I rode past the town that he was born in. I mean, it's pretty underwhelming, but I rode past the town that he's from, and really nice, you know. And then you cross into Greece, and then went down to the coast on Greece. And so at this point, I was still having flat tires, maybe one every 2 days. Right, this is a fucking nightmare. Like, this is just a big problem because I was meeting people and they were like, "Oh, I haven't had a flat tire the whole time." Fuck, what the hell is wrong with my bike? Like, what the hell is wrong? Am I doing something wrong? Am I not putting the inner tubes in right? And then I met this dude and he was like, "Fuck, get these specific tires and you'll be fine." And I got these tires and I haven't had a flat tire in 2,000 kilometers. And like, that was 2 months, longer than that, 3 months ago. I haven't had a flat tire since. It's been absolutely amazing. I don't want to, I'll probably just jinx it now. I'll get a flat tire tomorrow. But yeah, I haven't had a flat tire since. And then, yeah, sort of rode along the coast towards Turkey and yeah, get into Istanbul. And I was in Istanbul for a week or two. Quite nice, but the people are just pretty unfriendly, you know, like just pretty not very warm people. I guess it's just Istanbul, I think. Well, it definitely is just Istanbul. Because as soon as I left along the coast, people were so nice, you know, like giving me bread, giving me food, really trying to communicate with me with their little English, like really, really nice. And like as soon as I left Istanbul to go up along the Black Sea, like I rode along the Black Sea, and man, it just really surprised me how beautiful it is. Like it looked like a tropical island, you know, like blue waters, like not palm trees, but all trees along headlands and stuff like that, and trying to paint a picture. And all these beautiful mountains, like right on the water, just and quite untouched as well, you know, like really small towns. Like you just ride through a town, there's like maybe 50 houses, and there's like a tea shop with like 10 guys sitting at the front drinking tea, and like they always go, "Oh, come drink some tea, come drink some tea." They sit with them, have some lunch, and then yeah, keep going. But yeah, so I ended up making it to. I made it to. Yeah, so I got to just before the border of Georgia on the Black Sea, and I kept riding because I still had a shitload of money from in Turkish lira. So I rode towards. So my original plan was to go from Armenia to get a visa for China, and then go to Azerbaijan, and then cross the Caspian Sea, and then continue in through Kazakhstan. But so when I finally, because there's no borders open with Armenia and Turkey because they're at war. I didn't know this. Do some research before you go anywhere. That's one recommendation I've got for anybody. Do some research about this shit before you go, because that's one thing you don't do. But yeah, so so you cross into Georgia, and then it's like just for maybe like a day, like 50 k's to the town, and then 50 k's to the next border into Armenia. So I met this German guy who was like, you know, I was telling him, "Oh yeah, I'm going to go to Azerbaijan," and he's like, "You know, you can't ride there, right?" I was like, "What? What do you mean?" And he goes, "Yeah, there's no borders open with Azerbaijan and any country actually, because I don't know why. I guess they're at war." So so I was like, "Fuck, all right." So what he did was you can ship your bike on a truck from Georgia to Baku, which is on the where you get the boat across the Caspian Sea to Kazakhstan. So I was like, "Oh fuck, right, maybe I have to do that." So I got to Armenia to get that's the only place you can get the China visa, because eventually I was going to get into China, and and yeah. So at that point, I was like, "Fuck, like, if I can't get into Azerbaijan, I was looking at Russia or Iran. Those are the only other border countries, and um, Russia had just stopped giving the transit visa, which is what people use to get over, what like overlanders who drive like RVs. They go from Georgia over to Kazakhstan, and they just stopped giving that visa like the day that I arrived. Like the day that I arrived, they stopped giving that visa out. So that auction,
Damn.
that door was closed. Yeah, I know, right? And so that door was closed. And then the next few days, Iran sent missiles to Israel, and then Israel was like, "We will retaliate. There will be retaliation." So I was like, "Oh, fuck, that's not good. That's not good at all." And there were some guys in the hostel who were from Iran, and they were like, "Yeah, there's going to be a massive like overturning of the government as well. There's going to be all this like because apparently like a lot of the population is quite against the super Islamic government at the moment. So all the people are quite. I mean, this is what the people in the hostel were telling me. I don't know how true it is, but they were telling me like the people are kind of getting ready for an uprising to changing of the government. So there's going to be a lot of bloodshed, and there's going to be like they're kind of hoping that Israel would send bombs to Tehran or whatever it is to and hopefully like overthrowing the government so there could be a less strict government there. So that door was closed as well. So I was either send my bike by train or by truck to Azerbaijan and take a flight, and to send your bike by truck, it's $250. So I mean, and I was looking at flights around, and it was cheaper for me to fly to India with my bike than it was just to send my bike on the truck. And of course, I've been to India before. I've got my family, like my brothers, So I was like, you know what? Fuck, I'm running to fucking India. Fuck this. There's no more issue. There's no real issues there because there's also an issue of crossing from Pakistan into if you cross by land border from Pakistan into India, they're super suspicious of anyone who's been into Pakistan. The Indians are super suspicious of anyone who's been to Pakistan. Like there's all these sort of problems. There's only one land border that's open, so I'm like, you know what, fuck it, I'll catch a flight, go to fly to Delhi, and yeah, this is where I am. I'm in Delhi right now.
Well, holy fucking shit, dude.
Yeah, it's been a great trip, I tell you. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely,
yeah,
dude. That's an
yeah,
adventure of a lifetime.
yeah.
That adventure is an adventure of a lifetime right there.
Yeah. You should see the size of my legs right now. They're massive. Like I've never seen my legs so toned in my life. And I've got it. Never had. I mean, never been like fat or anything, but I've never had a six pack. I've got a six pack right now. It's like just from riding every day, just from fucking not eating a shitload, but just from riding every day, all day, every day, all day. And I fucking love it. It's just such a good way to see the place.
Yeah, you slow it down. Dude, I bet your legs are like tree trunks, man.
Dude, they're solid. They're solid. Like I've never had this. I'm looking at them right now. I've never had this definition in my calves before. Like it's it's insane.
Dude, but you worked for it, man. And like you were saying, it's a better way. I think it's a good way to see it because you get to slow it down a little bit and you actually get to take your time and uh, meet locals and they find it interesting because you're on a bike cycling around the world and they're like they just want to talk to you and and get to know you because that's super interesting in itself.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, anyone who sees you, like, what the fuck? Where'd you come from? I go, yeah, Amsterdam. Like, what the fuck? How did you make it all the way here? And I was like, yeah,
I love
these tree
that.
trunks, baby. Yeah,
Dude,
yeah. Or leg power.
dude, that's
Yeah,
so incredible, man. And
yeah. I mean,
you know,
I hadn't done any training before. It's not like I'm an athlete. Like I'm taking my time. I'm stopping. I'm smoking a joint here and there. I'm drinking a beer whenever I want to drink a beer. I'm not an athlete. Like everyone before, like when I was telling my friends I'm doing this trip, like, oh, you've been training? You've been training? I'm like, nah, I don't need to train for this shit. I can just do it. And then I take a photo at like the top of this mountain in Switzerland over like 2,100 meters altitude with snow around me. And I send it to all my friends like, this is enough training. Like this is what training gets you. You don't need to do anything like that. You can just fucking, if you want to do it, just fucking do it. Just go for it.
that's so true, man. You just got to put it into action. You got to put your words into action. Yeah, training might help with like some soreness, a little bit more endurance or something like that. But
Yeah,
if you don't get out there and do it, you're never, like it's just all lip service, man. Like,
that's it. That's it. That's it. Exactly right.
um, what I wanted to ask you, uh, what would be some more advice other than that that you would tell people that want to go on a bike journey like that? Like, because a lot of people are interested in that, and what would you um, impart to them?
Specifically on the bike or just traveling in general?
Just on the bike, like a big bike trip like you're doing.
Just okay. One massive bit of advice is get good tires. Good tires is the main thing. Like that that was stopping me every day for like an hour. You know, like I'd have to stop, pump up my. I mean, that's also what sort of drove me and my mate apart. It was just I'd have to stop, fix my tire, and and yeah, just sort of it's just a fucking pain in the ass. Like I don't have a special bike. You know, like I actually I'm riding a bike that my mum used to ride when I was a kid, and I used to ride this bike to school, and it ended up throwing it out in we call it council cleanup, like in where you throw out trash on the street. And when I knew that I wanted to do this trip, I was just searching bikes online, and I saw someone who had converted like this old mountain bike, the exact same one that my mum had, and I was like, that's it, that's my fucking bike, that's it. So I didn't really know anything about bikes before I started. Like, luckily, this guy had sort of like set it up relatively well for what I'm trying to do. Like, nothing too fancy. Just, I mean, I've only got 8 gears. That's all I've got. I'm riding up these massive mountains with 8 gears. You don't need these super special bikes. You don't need anything too crazy. You know, like, yeah, just the only real thing that I'd say that you need is good tires, good wheels, and good tires. Because otherwise, you're going to be changing a flat every fucking 20 minutes. And I was, you're spending 5 euros a day on inner tubes. You know, it adds up, like, every single day. And some places is more. So yeah, now that I bought the new tires, probably save myself like 100 euros and not having to buy inner tubes. So yeah, that's one bit of advice I'd say about specifically about biking.
Do you know what are the tires specifically called?
They're called Marathon. They're by Schwibble, something like that. I'd never heard of them before, but apparently they're the best ones. Like I'd met a guy who was using them, and he was like, yeah, like I haven't had a flat tire for like 2,000 kilometers, and I was like, all right, that sounds fucking good. So apparently they've got steel wire inside of them, whereas the last ones were just generic sort of Michelin tires, like mountain bike tires. You know, whereas these are more road bike tires, not the thin, skinny little ones, but more for the road. You know, but you can still take them on off road or whatever. Just deflate the pressure a little bit. Yeah, highly recommend the marathon tires.
Okay, well, yeah, that's a great bit of advice. Where where's the plan to go to next, and how long will you stay in India? What's the plan for the rest of the route?
So I mean, I'm pretty flexible. So like at the moment, I'm gonna so I'm in Delhi. I'm gonna ride down through Rajasthan, so some places called like Jaipur, Jodhpur, um, Pushkar, um, Udaipur. So I've been to these places before, and they're fucking beautiful. So, and it's on the way that I want to go. So I'm going to go down towards Mumbai, and then ride down the coast of Mumbai back into Goa, where I spent the season. And then there's another state just below Goa, and the people there are so nice. Like, just tiny little people. Like, super. India is like nowhere else in the world. Like, it's its own little world. Like, there's no influence from outside. The only thing you really see that's from the outside world is McDonald's, without beef. It's but yeah, and then so hopefully that'll be by hopefully it'll be warm. It'll be getting warmer in the north by then, because it's about to start snowing up in the mountains. That was another sort of reason to fly to India, because I was getting a little bit caught by the weather. Like, in in Georgia and Armenia, it was fucking freezing. Like, I'm talking. Well, I'm an Australian, so my cold is maybe not the same as your cold, but it was fucking freezing. So I was like, all right, it's only going to get colder. Maybe I'm going to get stuck in Kazakhstan somewhere, or just snowed in, you know. So I think it was the right decision to fly to India and go from there. So yeah, hopefully after it warms up, I'll start riding back north, or I might get the train back up north. And then I've sort of got two routes, two sort of ideas. I'm going to go into, this is the more likely one, go into Nepal and then into China and then across China into Vietnam and then go down Southeast Asia that way. But if another one of the other routes I could go is into Myanmar, but Myanmar has some pretty big issues at the moment. Like I know there's a lot of internal wars and genocide and all that sort of stuff, and yeah, killing a lot of people. I mean, there was one stage where they were like the president was like, okay, anyone who has anything to do with drugs, we're going to shoot you on sight. So they killed a fuckload of people, of their own people. You know, like anyone who was a drug addict or anyone who had any affiliation with drugs or who was seen smoking weed or anything like that was shot on sight. And I mean, I haven't smoked for about 3 or 4 months now, but yeah, it sounds like a pretty hectic place. So I'm probably leaning more towards Kathmandu, Nepal, sorry, China, Vietnam. But I also there's a wedding in a few weddings I have to go back home for in February, so I get to go home for a week or two, and then I'll leave the bike where I am, and then fly home for a week or two, and then come back and keep going from wherever I am. And then eventually, I mean, I want to slow down a little bit when I get to Southeast Asia, so take my time a little bit. Like you can spend years there, you know, it's so beautiful. Like the people are so nice. The food, oh, just the food alone, you stay there forever. But yeah, yeah, eventually I'd like to maybe ride down to Singapore, and then if I can get some ferries over to through Indonesia, maybe to Bali. I know there's no like ferries or anything to Australia, but there's a lot of people who sail. Like if you go on Facebook, there's like these Facebook pages of like sailing hitchhikers. So like maybe a family has a boat and they're sailing around the world and they need like somebody to do night shift or cook or to clean or look after their kids or whatever. You can jump on their boat and they'll take you for, sometimes for free or sometimes like a small chip-in portion for petrol or whatever. And then they'll take you to Australia. So hopefully I can find something like that when I get down there. And then plan is hopefully to ride back down to Sydney, which is another another chapter in itself, you know.
Wow, dude. I
Yeah.
mean, that's almost speechless there, dude. You
Yeah.
know,
It's yeah, like I was saying before, like I was so fascinated with Europe when I was a kid coming from Australia that if you want to, you can drive your car all the way from Amsterdam, all the way to fucking Singapore, all the way to Thailand if you want to. Like this for me was so fascinating coming from an island. You could drive in Australia for 10 hours straight and everything's the exact same. The people are the same, the food the same, people talk the same accent. Like the accent doesn't change around Australia. You know, it's the same shit everywhere. So to be able to like ride the whole way, yeah, it
it's
was a dream of mine, you know.
it's incredible. What I wanted to know, what was your average budget on a daily basis? What do you spend on a daily basis on average?
It's difficult because I mean some days I have 0 days where I'll be camping somewhere and I'll have like a sausage or like a salami stick left over from the day before or something like that. When there's also days where I got to Milan and you're paying 20 euros for a hostel and it cost me 200 euros to service a bike and do some other things and you know you get and the inner tubes and things like that. So it's hard to sort of put a day by day budget on it. But if I'm just riding the bike, maybe you can get away with 20 euros, maybe 20 euros a day if you're not staying in a camping or if you're just camping on the beach or whatever, just for some food and maybe a beer or two or that sort of thing, you know, just miscellaneous stuff. But like, you know, as a whole, I sort of like I'll work in Australia for a year and then I'll go traveling for as long as I can until my money sort of runs out, you know. So I mean, normally in places like Southeast Asia, you can travel and South America, you can travel for maybe a year and a half, 2 years on a year's salary. saving in Australia, but I mean, this year I was this trip I was in Europe, so that obviously is a bit more expensive. You know, like the food's a lot more expensive, the hostels are a lot more expensive. Even some of the camping places, like just so I can charge my phone and charge my battery banks and stuff, they were like 20 euros for a night. You know, so it sort of stacks up pretty fast in Europe. But as soon as I left Europe, as soon as I got into like past Istanbul, it's been pretty cruisy. It's been maybe like 20 US dollars a day, something like that. You know, I mean, I live very frugally. Like I don't do any tours. I just spend my money on food. I always say there's food, weed, and accommodation. Those are my three expenses. And I haven't been smoking for 3 or 4 months, so just food and accommodation at the moment.
The essentials.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And every now and again, of course, I'll splurge. You know, like when we rode through Champagne in France, at the region of Champagne, and we got a nice champagne bottle and things like that. You know, like every now and again, of course, you gotta treat yourself, especially after camping for 3 or 4 days. It's like fuck, right, I'll get it like a nice hostel with a good shower and that sort of thing. You know,
Yeah, I think that's necessary. Absolutely.
you gotta treat yourself.
No, so man, Lucky, I appreciate you coming on and doing the podcast, man. And look, your journeys are insane and like your lifestyle is insane and I look up to it so much and always look forward to seeing your travels and I follow literally every story you put up and I will continue to do so because you never know what you're going to be doing. Like
Yeah.
one second here, next second you're in another country and this is
Yeah.
what this is all about. This is what the podcast is, hopefully just to inspire people to travel a little more and preserve people's stories and share people's stories with the world. It's very interesting to hear this in a long form conversation because we hardly ever get to do this, and uh, even with if you're in person, you hardly ever get to do this. So I want to thank you again. Thank you for spending your time. I know it is the most valuable possession we have. So again, Lucky, thank you. And I have one last question for you. I want to ask you, what is some advice you can leave for everyone, travel or just in general? What would that be?
Bit of advice, I would say, whatever you do, wherever you go, always smile. If you walk into a place and you're smiling and looking friendly and are friendly, you know, it's going to open so many more doors for you. People are going to be so much more willing to engage with you or willing to, you know, like come and sit down with you or ask you what you're doing or where you're going or, you know, be much more friendly. You know, just yeah. I guess it's love. Like love is the most important not tool, but like most important thing you can have. You know, if you can show love and give love, it's the best currency. You know, if you can show that to people, people don't want anything else. You know, people are so kind, and you just got to be kind back. Just walk around with a big smile on your face, and you'll be all right. You know.
Great advice. Great advice, man. Um, you're a great person, and I hope we meet sometime in the future in another country somewhere. Um,
Yeah, sure we will.
I would love to have a beer with you and catch up um,
Yeah,
on another note
sounds
for
great.
sure.
Yeah, you're
For
always
sure.
welcome in Australia when I'm there. You've always got a place to stay, so always please hit me up. Come to Australia, man. It's fucking massive. It's great. There's so many places to see. Yeah, would love to host you.
Absolutely, man. I would love to. I'm definitely gonna make it out there soon, and vice versa. You're more than welcome in Park City in Utah, and I would if you could when you get here in the future. I know you'll be able to, um, and I would love to host you here as well.
Cheers, brother. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you, Lucky. I appreciate you, man.
No worries, man. It was really, really great honor. Thank you very much for asking me. Like I've never done anything like this before. Yeah, yeah. Really, really appreciate you asking me. And it's a great idea, you know, like just to get some stories down, get some experiences, and then maybe someone else will hear this and be like, fuck, you know what, I can do that as well. It's really not that difficult. You just gotta like we were saying before, you just gotta do it. Just book that fucking flight, like book that hotel and just fucking go. You know?
Oh, exactly, man.
Don't sit around. Don't have to sit around and wait for your mates to go with you or something like that. Just if no one wants to go with you, just do it yourself. Just fucking go.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, man. And we kind of share that same love for travel. All right, Lochie. So, well, I will talk to you later, man.
All right, brother. Thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. Anytime. And always remember, folks, the world is your oyster. That's a wrap on this episode of People, Places, and Things. Thanks for joining us on this journey. Whether you're dreaming of your next adventure or just love hearing stories from across the globe, we hope we inspired a bit of wanderlust in you today. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with fellow travelers. Until next time, keep exploring, keep dreaming, keep discovering new people, places, and things.